Welcome. My name is Maria, and today I will take you through this yin practice. You will be needing 2 blocks. If you don't have blocks, find something that works for you. Also, it might be nice to have a pillow, maybe several pillows available. And you'll also need a blanket. So just make sure you have those items or something that can assimilate those items nearby. So we are going to come into Baddha Konasana. So you're going to open your knees to the sides, soles of your feet together. You might find that it's a little intense for the knees in this pose, so you could place some support for the knees if you need. Also, if you find that you're really rounded backwards already now, sitting up on a pillow or a blanket or whatever you have with a little bit of height, that's just gonna encourage you to fold forward. So if you're using a pillow or blanket, make sure you sit so far forward that you're tipping off it a little. It's just gonna help you. So you're gonna sit with a long, tall spine, and before we go, just close your eyes for a moment. Just close your eyes. Allow your seat to root into the pillow or the mat. Allow the crown of your head to reach up towards the ceiling. And then just take a moment here to breathe. Allow your breath to be completely natural. Just observe how you're breathing. So our breath tells a lot about the state that we're in any given moment. So notice if you find your breath is relaxed and deep, or if it's stagnant or uneven. Just observe. Now let's take one last inhale here. And as you exhale, allow your torso to tip forward from your pelvis. And allow your spine to round. Release your head down towards the mat. Soften your shoulders away from your ears. I really like to face my palms up in forward folds like this in Yin Yoga, because I find that I won't be encouraged to pull myself forward with the fingers. Take a little time here to set yourself up. And then once you've found a pose where you're able to relax, then allow your body to become still. Completely release your neck, release your face, relax your jaw.
So in Yin Yoga, it's all about letting go. In Yang Yoga or Vinyasa, Ashtanga, Hatha, all these warmer practices, we're using muscle engagement to stretch. Yin Yoga is really the yin to the yang. Here is about using the least amount of muscle effort as possible. It's about relaxing and letting go. And especially if you're newer to this practice, chances are you'll find it surprisingly difficult to be still. So in Yin Yoga we have 3 phases. The first phase is finding the pose, or setting up the pose, which is where you can fidget and shift things around however you need, modifying, adjusting. And I find even as a very seasoned practitioner that some days, some poses are just so much more challenging than others. So even as you get used to sitting in the poses for a while, it becomes even more evident that the body and the mind is ever changing. And each time you step on the mat, it's going to be a different sensation than it was the day before. So the first stage was setting up the pose, where you take your time, you fidget around, you do what you need. Second phase is stillness. Allowing yourself to just be still, which is incredibly difficult. We live in this fast-paced society where all around us, the world is designed to take our attention out of our bodies and into the open space to focus on commercials and products and consuming all these things. And really, when you're then asked to come and just be with yourself in stillness, often the brain has a really hard time with that. So if you're new, if this is your first yin practice or you're just newer, and you find that this is very difficult, know that you are not alone. It takes a lot of time to learn how to just be. So every time your body, or rather your mind, asks you to move or change anything, ask yourself if it's really necessary. And sometimes it is, because sometimes we've gone too far into the position and it's no longer serving us. It's tightening everything up, tensing everything up. So if you are not able to let go and relax in the pose, please do change it. But if it's your brain telling your body that you're itching on your nose, or oh, this is a little sore, or oh, uncomfortable, don't listen to that. Yin Yoga should never hurt, but it surely will bring some discomfort. So instead, ask yourself if there is any way that you can breathe through this feeling of being uncomfortable. Taking one more inhale here. And as you exhale, use your hands to support you. Find your way all the way back to a tall seat. Now we're going to keep this position exactly as it is. All you're going to do is move your feet a foot, maybe a foot and a half, maybe even 2 feet forward, depending on the position that's most comfortable for you. You should have a diamond shape in between the legs. Taking a moment, sitting with a tall, long spine. And when you're ready, tipping forward from the pelvis first. And then allowing everything to round eventually. Now, a little side note here, the head is very heavy. So we've already just done one forward fold with the head hanging loose. So ask yourself, or maybe even experiment, would it benefit me to place something to support my forehead here? It might not, but it might. So as we change position, take your time in this first phase, setting up the pose so that it serves you the best way possible in this moment. And then once you're there, once you've found the pose that works for you, enter the second phase, the phase of stillness. Letting go of the urge or the need to change anything, to move anything. Again, unless it's pain that you're feeling and it's hurting, then you change it. Now the third and final stage that we move through in a yin practice is the concept of time. So first we set up the pose, then we allow stillness in the pose. And then time can be translated, not just the time that you're seated in this one pose for this one practice, but also that practice takes time. And we can't expect, if we've never practiced this kind of yoga before, we've never stretched like this before, we can't expect results just from one time. The power is in consistency. And I think that can be said for about everything in life. It's not that you take 2 weeks out of your schedule and practice Yin Yoga with passion for those 2 weeks. And then magic will happen. It's continuous practice over time, months, years, decades. Soften your shoulders. And think about sending your breath to the back of your body. Imagine with your inhalations that you could send your breath down the back of your body, creating space between each and every vertebrae. And with each and every exhalation, allow the body to let go of any tension that it may meet. one last deep inhale here. And as you exhale, use your hands to support you as you come all the way back up.
If you used any props, move them aside, but have them handy. So from here, we're gonna close the legs, shake them out, and then we're gonna come to the side of the mat. So let's stretch one leg to the side, bending the other leg in. So I have my left leg to the side, I'm bending my right leg in here. And again, if you find that you're leaning back, sit up on that little pillow. That's just gonna help your pelvis tip further forward. Good. And then from here, we're just gonna start doing a few rocks with the pelvis. So I'm gonna lead from my foot, but really I'm leading deep within this hip socket. So take your fingertips out in front of you and then start rotating your leg, your knee towards me, towards the screen, and then draw it away. Yeah, so externally rotating, sending the knee back behind you, toe back behind you, rotate from deep within the inner groin, and then turn it forward, inward. That's it. Let's do that twice more. Draw it all the way back, sending the toes back behind you, and then change it. Internally rotate it, send the toes forward, knee forward. Let's do one more round like that. Externally rotating and internally rotating. Good. Good, and then release that, bend that left knee in, send the right leg straight to the side. Fingertips out in front of you, and again, we're gonna rotate that right leg, toes forward, knee forward, lean towards the front, and as you externally rotate, you're gonna send the toes back, the knee back, rotate from deep within the groin. We're gonna do that a few more times, bending it forward, internally rotating, and then externally rotating, sending the knee back, toe back. One more round, internally rotating from the hip socket all the way out into the toes, and then externally rotating. Good. Now from here, you're gonna stretch both legs out to the sides, and you can either stay seated on your pillow if you were on a pillow. If it's too much for the knees, and it might be for you, you could take 2 blankets, roll them up, and then place them like this underneath the knees. That's just going to take some of the tension. You have a little bit of a bend in your knee, but you're still stretching the inner groin. Yes? If you are very flexible here, if you're a dancer, an old gymnast, anything like that, try not to go all the way to your max. You want to make sure that your knees are pointing straight up, and you want to relax your feet. From here, you're going to grab one block. You might find out in a moment that you don't need it, but for now, you're going to grab one block and you're going to place it behind your right knee. Then you are going to allow your right elbow to rest on the block and your head to rest in your right hand. Now you might find that this is too much. Know that you can adjust the block to a higher height. You could even stagger 2 blocks on top of one another if you need. You might find that this was actually not too bad and you could lower the block. You might even find that you don't need the block. If you find that you don't need the block, you can move your elbow forward of that right knee. Still allow your head to rest in your hand, and then reach your left arm up towards the ceiling. Flip the palm back so it faces behind you. Bend your elbow, allow your arm to rest somewhere behind your lower back. This is just to open up the chest a little bit more. Now, because we're leaning to the right side, chances are you feel your right sit bone really firmly into the floor. Can you allow your left sit bone to melt into the floor as well? Allow the breath to be natural. Allow your feet to relax. Yeah, so if the foot want to flop in or out here, just let it. You don't have to point or flex your feet at all. You want to keep it as relaxed as possible. We have about 45 seconds here to go. Can you relax your face a little more, your jaw, your shoulders, your chest? Good. And then reaching that left arm back up towards the ceiling. And lower the left arm down and gently come all the way back up. Good. We're going to stay facing this right leg. You're going to grab your blocks and placing them on each side of the right leg here, and then you're going to turn your whole torso to face the right leg. Root into your seat, so try to feel both sit bones down into the floor. And on your next exhalation, start allowing your torso to drape forward over that right leg. Now you might just place your elbows on the blocks. You might find lowering the blocks serves you better. You might even find that you don't need the blocks. But you want to find your edge. And then you want to stay on your safe side of the edge, just kind of leaning into it. Another way to put it, you have a house. Your house is your comfort zone. Around the house you have a yard that is fenced. Now, as long as you're in your house, you feel like you're in your element. You're completely relaxed, not uncomfortable, just the most comfortable that you could be, really. Now, when you walk outside to your yard, then things start to become more interesting. So imagine that these yin poses are like walking around in your yard, finding new holes, new plants, new things to see. So we're leaning towards that fence without crossing it. And we're trying to relax the muscles as much as possible so that it's really the connective tissue we try to open here. That might mean that you have to hold yourself more back than you're used to. Good. Take a few more breaths here. And then release your hands to the floor, support yourself. Find your way all the way back up. Grab one of your blocks. Maybe you already know what height you need it on behind that left knee. Take your elbow onto the block, allow your head to rest in your hand. And then sending that right arm up towards the ceiling. Flip the palm, bend the elbow, allow the arm to rest somewhere behind you on your lower back. And then take your time here in the first phase to adjust the pose as you need. Maybe moving the block to a different angle, maybe you don't need the block. Maybe you're able to take your elbow to the floor in front of your left leg. But don't assume just because one thing worked on the first side that it's going to be the same on the second side. We are all different individuals with individual movement patterns. And I think it's pretty safe for me to say that we all have a favorite side. And sometimes it's not the same side in the torso as in the legs. But we gotta learn to accept these movement patterns that we have acquired, pushing oneself more on one's weaker side, or less flexible side, if you will. It's not gonna serve you in releasing tension. So instead of getting caught up in the fact that you're not symmetrical in every way possible, take it as an adventure. Each and every pose is an adventure, especially if it's done on both sides, if it's not a symmetrical stretch. Allow the shoulders to soften away from your ears. Allow the jaw to soften. We have just about a minute to go here. Can you allow your right sit bone to sink a little heavier into the mat? Can you allow yourself to focus so much on your breath that you're able to release unnecessary tension just by breathing? Allow your belly to be soft, your legs to relax. Good. Then reach that right arm back up towards the ceiling. Release it down and gently support yourself. Coming all the way up. Grabbing your two blocks. Placing them on each side of your left leg. Sitting with a tall spine for a moment. Relax the legs. And then allow your torso to start draping over that left leg, adjusting the blocks to any height that might serve you. Maybe it feels good to support the head with the hands. Take a little bit of time setting yourself up in a way that really serves you to let go and release. Allow your belly to be soft, your forehead to be relaxed. And make sure you're not holding on to tension in the jaw and in the shoulders.
of the breath is so undervalued. We take it for granted because it happens even if we don't put in any effort. But it's the most crucial thing for us. Without the breath, you'd be dead. We have just about a minute to go here. Releasing tension wherever you meet it in your body, just by breathing. Take one last inhale here. And as you exhale in your own time, find yourself all the way back up, sitting with a long, tall spine. Good. Now we have one last pose to go in this position. If you have blocks, take them out in front of you. Either keep your hands on your blocks or place your fingertips on the floor and then start to make some circles with your torso in one direction. And don't worry, we'll change in a moment. It doesn't matter which way you go to begin. You can allow the circles to be small, slow, or a little bigger, a little bit more dynamic if that feels good. But see if you can wake up the inner groin a little more. And then change direction, whatever that is for you. Going the opposite way. Good. And then finding your way back to center, sitting with a long, tall spine, releasing the legs. And as you're ready, tipping forward from the pelvis, sending the tailbone back behind you. Think about lowering the belly first as you move forward. So we want to try to find a little bit of lengthening in the spine, but we don't want to hold it there. So once you feel like you can lengthen more, then you allow everything to round. So don't try to hold onto that long spine and use your muscles. Try to allow everything to release and relax. You might find it beneficial with the blocks underneath the forearms, or you could place your forehead on a block if you're feeling a little more open. Maybe you find that you don't even need blocks. Take your time and adjust the best way for you. And especially if you're new to Yin practice, know that it is not uncommon at all to get a lot of emotions flowing around in the body. It's not uncommon to start to feel frustrated towards yourself, the yoga teacher, the practice. But it could also be sadness or angry. Maybe you start to feel angry. You might want to cry. And whatever comes to you, just let it come. Don't try to hold it in. Don't try to contain emotion. Instead, try to just breathe through it. Letting yourself be upset, working through whatever emotion may arise. We have a minute to go. How much can you allow yourself to let go this last minute? Allow your breath to soften you. Relax your face and your jaw. Take one last inhale wherever you are. And as you exhale, use your hands to support you as you come all the way up. Place your hands on the outsides of your knees for support, and very slowly, we've been here a while, very, very slowly, start to wake up your feet. Gently start drawing the legs together. And know that it's not uncommon to feel like you're 100 years old here. So if it feels tight, don't worry about it at all. Good. And then shake the legs out in front of you. Come off whatever you're seated on, if you're seated on something. Take your feet to the edges of your yoga mat. Place your hands behind you. And then allow both knees to melt all the way to the left side. See if you can allow your right knee to come all the way to the floor. And then coming all the way back to center. Allow both knees to melt all the way to the right side. See if you can allow your left knee to come to the floor. And let's do that one more time. Draw the knees all the way to the left. The right knee comes to the floor. And back to center and to the right. Left knee comes to the floor. And back to center. Now, for this next pose, which will be one of the last poses of today's practice, you're going to set your blocks up like so. You may find once you lay down on the blocks that this is too much for you, and if that's the case, you come off the blocks and then you adjust them on a lower setting. It also might be nice to grab an extra blanket and just throw over the blocks, just to give a little bit more softness, especially if you have wooden or cart blocks, because they're just a little bit rougher on the edges. You're going to take your blanket, you're going to open it out like this, then you're going to roll it up. It doesn't have to be perfect, but the tighter the better, like so, like a little roll. Then, just as we started practice, you're going to open up the knees to the sides, soles of the feet together. Place your roll on top of your feet, then grab the ends and wiggle around your ankles. This is going to support your knees, your ankles, your shins. It's just going to make everything feel more comfortable. And you might have to adjust yourself a little here. So for some people, it's nicer to have the feet a little further away from the groin. Some people are more open and they can come closer. You want to be a little further away from this first block. So when we're going to come down,
You're going to come down and adjust yourself so that the edge, the lowest edge of the block towards you is going to be just around the lowest part of your shoulder blade, so just the tip of the shoulder blade. And then the top block, the one furthest away from you, is for the back of your head. And you might have to adjust that one a little. Heart bench, this pose is called in the Yin Yoga practice. Now you could have your hands on your lower belly if that feels good. I like to have my arms pretty wide, so I really feel a good opening of my chest. But you adjust what's comfortable for you. Maybe it's nicer to have the arms closer to your hips. Maybe it's nice to have them more out to the side. Take a while in this first stage of the pose to adjust how you need. Notice how my lower back is completely free from the first block. So make sure that your lower back is completely free. It should feel good. It should feel really, really good here. And once you have adjusted the pose to fit you, then we enter the second stage. Of stillness. So really allow everything to soften. Allow your breath to soften, your face, your neck and your shoulders. Now we have just about a minute to go here. How much can you allow yourself to surrender into this pose for the last minute? How much can you allow yourself to completely relax?
here you're going to place your forearms close to your body. Gently lift your head up first. Root into your forearms and come all the way off the blocks. Just remove the blocks to the side. Remove the blanket to the side. Close your knees together and roll back down with the knees into the chest. Grab a hold around the ankles, shins. Rock a little bit from side to side. Then allow both knees to melt all the way to the left side. Left hand comes to the outside of the right thigh. And then you reach your right arm to the right. Palm is facing up. You can either allow your nose to face straight up towards the ceiling, or if you want to deepen the stretch, turn your nose towards your right hand. And know that you can modify this supine twist either by placing a block underneath your knees or underneath that right shoulder or arm. And then coming all the way back to center. Allow both knees to melt all the way to the right side. Right hand on the outside of the left thigh. Left arm straight to the side. Nose either facing up or towards that left hand. And again, you could choose to modify if you did on the first side. The block underneath the knees or underneath the left shoulder or arm. Wherever you are, allow your breath to soften. And then draw the knees back into the chest. Grab a hold around the shins or ankles. Rock from side to side. Give yourself one last little hug. Then step both feet on your mat. Put on your oven mittens, like so. So thumbs are out, other four fingers together. Place your oven mittens around your hip crease, so underneath that big hip bone, very much at the beginning of your thighs. As you inhale, push into the hip crease, the tops of the thighs, until you find or feel your lower back lift away from the floor. And then release that down. Let's do that twice more. Push into the hip crease of thigh, feel that lower back start to lift away, and let it go. Last time, push in. Feel that lower back lengthen away from the floor, and then release it back. Finding your way into your Shavasana. Maybe with a blanket over you. If you, like me, are feeling slightly chilly. Allow the arms to rest alongside the body, palms are facing up. Close your eyes if you haven't already. Let's take a deep inhale through the nose. Sigh out the mouth, let it go. Let everything soften. Relax the back of the head, your neck, your forehead. Let go of all the little muscles around your eyes. Relax your cheeks, your mouth, your lips, your tongue and your jaw. Relax your chin. Soften the front of your throat. Relax the front of your chest and your shoulders. Relax your upper arms, your elbows, your forearms. Relax your wrists, your palms, all the way out into your fingers. Let it go. Relax the rib cage. Try to let every single vertebrae melt into the floor. Relax your hips, your belly, and imagine your muscles almost melting off of the bones and into the floor. Let go of your thighs, your knees, your shins. Relax your ankles, your feet, both the tops and the soles of the feet. Relax your toes. Take a little scan of your body. See if there is anywhere you are not relaxing. And then try to let that go. And then start to wake up your fingertips, wake up your toes. Move the head ever so slightly from side to side. And bend one knee, step the foot on the mat. Bend the other knee, step the other foot on the mat. Roll onto one side. And then use your hands to support you as you come all the way up to a seat. Sitting with a long, tall spine, gather the hands in front of your heart. Take an inhale as you lift your chest, and exhale as you bow your chin towards your heart. Take a couple of full deep breaths here. Deep inhale through the nose, side out the mouth. 2 more times. Last time. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me and Bailey on the mat. If you have any questions, any comments, please put it below. And I hope to meet you again soon.